I remember at first, when this came to me, I was like, oh, but what if someone else thinks of it and gets it out there before me?
Oh, yeah.
Right? That is such an ego thing. Right? Because when you truly believe in yourself and you know that something's inevitable, like, you are the secret sauce. So it doesn't matter if someone, I remember I had even talked with like, development partners or different, and I had them sign NDAs. And now I laugh because I'm like, go ahead and take the idea, because it's not going to be coming from me.
Let's repeat the non-conformist oath. I promise to be different. I promise to be unique. I promise not to repeat things other people say.
Welcome back to Positive Blatherings, once again brought to you by our fine friends at Salvatore's Old Fashioned Pizzeria. We got one of their newest locations right here in Bushnell's Basin. We just walk down the street and have fantastic pizza. You cannot beat that. And let's see. Is this the side or is this the side? I don't know. One of these sides, we're going to put the little thing up because Salvatore's is awesome. And you can do it just like Sam does, salvatores.com. All right. So my guest today is a very special person that I met actually through another podcast that records here at ROC Vox. And I have a question for you. Let's see, social media. What do you think? Social media, is it a connector or is it a divider? And I think there's people that would say maybe it's a bit of both. Some people use it for good. Some people use it for bad. Well, I guess social media was the inspiration for Amy Hawley. She's the founder of Kinz, a private platform designed to help people capture meaningful moments and reflect on their personal growth journeys. And it's a really cool innovation, and I was excited to have her on the podcast. Welcome, Amy. Thank you so much. It's so good to see you. Amazing job with the Salvatores. I'm like, wait a minute, did you record that? So you brought me there to the commercial. All right. But thanks for having me. Yeah, absolutely. So Kinz, and that's spelled K-I-N-Z, and that's kind of like you're my kin, like you're my family. Is that where that came from? Yeah. Actually, the truth is, it came from a nickname my brother gave me as a kid. Like Amy Kinz? Ah, okay. I was. So it always kind of stuck. But yeah, kin is, to me, it's community. And more recently, it's being connected, and not even just with others, but connected to oneself. So that's kind of where it comes from. Can you bring the mic a little closer to you? Yeah, just there you go. Perfect. Okay, so backing up a little bit, let's talk about what is Kinz. Give me your elevator pitch. Yeah, so you nailed it a little bit with the opening, but Kinz is a private space to capture sort of those in-between moments. So, we all have the birthday photos, we have the photos after you get the promotion, we have all of those highlight reels, but with Kinz, it was truly born as a place to put that in between some of those, reflections or times where maybe you don't share that publicly, but it's part of your story. Okay, so the motivation is, this is for you. This is your personal stuff. This is not expressing like, oh, look at, this is my life on social media, because we all go through that where, all the time I'm seeing people like, look at these people, they're crushing it. They're doing this and they're doing that. And I'm like, I'm struggling. What's going on here? And we all know that that's not really the truth. That's just what they're presenting and what we're supposed to see. But there's also stuff that you'd like to put on there, but you kind of don't want to get too personal. So this stuff that you can post on Kinz is like, could be just for you. It could be for everybody, but you could post stuff just for you. So it's personal, but you are able to record that for yourself. So you can go back and look and see like those moments, right? Yeah. I think for me, this all stemmed from a growth journey, right? And I feel like anytime you're growing or you're, looking towards goals, or you're seeing comparison traps on social media, like you mentioned. Comparison traps. Yeah, I love that. It's hard when you are in a growth process to see the progress. And Kinz provides that space where, hey, there's no pressure. It's private by default.
it's built around the user. So when you log in, it's all about you, and how that looks is what you make of it. And that's really where you can capture, maybe the behind the scenes to that promotion, or the behind the scenes to that fitness goal. All of those moments that no one tends to share outwardly or authentically. And sometimes it is the good stuff too. Maybe it's more context to a situation that you wouldn't necessarily share publicly.
So interesting thing is you used a couple of words since you came in here, and even before we started rolling on this. One of the words you used was alignment, and it got me thinking about your alignment with Kinz and how you came upon this journey. Do you go back and think about, since I was 2 years old, I wanted to have my own business? Or is this kind of like a new thing where you just had a spark of genius, if you will, and said, I want to do this?
I love that. I love the spark of genius. I will take that. Thank you. Let me add that to my identity here. No, truly, if you would have asked me, even 5 years ago, 2 years ago, would you be an entrepreneur? Would you go forward and try to build a business? I might have said yeah, that sounds great on paper, but then I might have gone down that rabbit hole of, I need to know all of the things before I would make something happen, or I would take action on that. So to me, it was having awareness of what it means to be aligned, because now I kind of look within, and every action I've taken towards this business or towards anything else in my life comes from alignment. And what I mean by that is, instead of doing, or looking outside myself for, going down the internet and saying, is this a good business idea? Or asking people, would you use this? I just trusted myself. I made it because I needed it. And each step towards this business and towards my life now just comes from trusting kind of that inner, you know what, you want this, go for it. And then taking aligned action instead of forcing and creating doubt. So it was a lot of trust.
Would you consider yourself a gutsy person?
I would say, I always will shoot my shot. But I think I used to do that from lack and more of desperation and looking for security. Versus now, I don't shoot the shot unless I'm feeling it. I don't shoot the shot just to shoot it, right? So it's looking internally and feeling first, and then the action comes because I'm in a space of alignment that is attracting what I want towards me.
What happens when you don't have that alignment? But it's something so there's the greater goal, and then there's all those little goals that you have to accomplish before you get to that greater goal. And sometimes those minor goals or smaller goals, you're in that journey and you go, yeah. What do you do? What do you do when you realize that for right now, I'm not in alignment with this, but I know I should be, and I'm not feeling it? How do you kind of psych yourself into feeling it?
I love that. So for me, I always try to look through the lens of the identity of someone that already has it. So if I, when I went to go start this company, I didn't say I'm going to found this company and I'm, going to do X, Y, and Z. I looked through it more as, if I was already a founder of this company and it was already successful, how would I approach this situation? Or what would be my next aligned action? And then for me, I used to look way too far in the future. Because then I'd be then what's after that? And then what's after that? And then, but how am I going to do that? And then it's all this doubt, and then you never get started. So it was more, what is the next step? And then can I look through it through the lens of someone that already is a founder? If I'm already a founder of this company, would I be feeling pressure to do this or that? Probably not. I'd be at peace. I would know, this is already inevitable. So it's more looking through that lens of someone that already has it, and then staying persistent in that, even if that might not be what I see yet in the outer world. It's sort of keeping that internal, remembering, if you will.
Interesting that, when you think about how I'm going to act as though it's already there. Like this is who I am. Like, so I'm a successful founder. I'm going to act as though I'm a successful founder, even if nothing's happened yet, and live in that space. And that's a really interesting, difficult, empowering way to live. So when we produced a movie a couple of years back called Bottom Feeders, which you can find on Amazon Prime. But we were at the point where, okay, so we're in our 50s, we're two dudes in our 50s, and we really want to make a movie. But if we don't make a movie now, we're going to be two dudes in our 60s or 70s, and we're going to be bitching and moaning that we never made a movie. Yeah. So we're like, all right, well, we're just going to do it. And we had a couple of people that were mentors for us, and they said, just act as though the money's already there.
Yes.
Just keep going as though the money was already there. So we scheduled things. We hired people. We did all that kind of stuff. Now, the money did show up. It wasn't the way I thought it was going to show up, the movie fairy.
Yeah.
But so we ended up, my partner ended up taking out a loan and doing that way. But it all worked out, and we still managed to do it. But it was that idea of living in the moment and not thinking, like almost forgetting about the how.
Yes.
And that is, I have to tell you, that is my biggest problem in my existence, is not thinking about the how, because the how is, if I can't see the how, then I can't see the final. I can't see the accomplishment, because I have to know how I'm getting there. And so, like, having that faith that you're just going to arrive, it's almost like, well, we're just going to drive that way and eventually we're going to get there. I don't know how we're getting there. I mean, it's a little weird. It's a little kind of off-putting. How do you deal with that?
Yes, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I will be the first to say I am still, becoming, right? I have a living project on Kinz called Becoming a Founder. And I look at becoming not as I am not there yet, but as I have chosen that outcome, and now my only job is to just witness it unfolding. So like you said, well, the money came, but it was never how I could have imagined it. I think when we try to figure out the how, we limit ourselves. Because if I try to figure out the how and I wrap myself into, well, it has to be this way, then if I'm met with resistance, that's where like doubt creeps back in, or maybe you give up, or maybe you stop. Versus if I'm just completely open to unlimited possibilities of how it could happen, it's so much easier for that to come into my awareness and for me to take a line action from that.
Yeah.
So I think it's more being open, but I totally get it. I struggle with that too. I always was go, do. It's this step, that step, what's next. But I found even with building Kinz, I had different ideas for it at the beginning, and I was sort of forcing that path. And then like I knew it wasn't right, but I was like, no, this is the next step. This is it. I got to do this. And it's funny now because that path, or that little pivot of the plan, if you will, that I didn't even know about, it's irrelevant now because it took a completely different, so it wasn't even necessary. Right. And then I think back to like, imagine all those nights that I lost a little sleep over that, or stress, and it doesn't even matter now because it went a completely different direction. Right. So to me, looking back, that was my inner knowing, if you were, my intuition telling me like, hey, this feels forced. Like there's a different way. And even those little moments are what I capture in Kinz. Because to me, it was like, well, this is uncomfortable and I don't know what else to do with this. And it feels terrible to just sit with it without doing something. So then I would just take those moments and I'd make a reflection on them and say like, hey, today felt heavy. I don't know what's next. And then, that passes. Yeah. I think in the moment it feels like that's just it. Right. Like you're going to be there forever. And then it's like the next day something else happens and comes an opportunity that I never could have planned out myself. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I'm back on cloud 9, right? So it's been nice to look back even on my becoming a founder journey through my Kinz project to see there is a lot of ebbs and flows. And I think that's natural. That's like part of the human journey.
Absolutely. I think about my journey starting ROC Vox, and there are so many really, really weird twists and turns that got me to where I am now that I would have never, ever considered. And honestly, didn't like going through them at the time. But in retrospect, I'm like, holy crap, that was so necessary. Not only did I grow in a certain way, I learned this, which I needed to know before I got to this stage and this stage. And, the universe kind of does this thing where it says, I know what you want, but I'm not going to give that to you yet because you're not ready. Because you have to get here first. And then you have to get here first. The universe knows your path, but you don't know your path, and you don't know how and it kind of like tries to show you, and you have to, like that intuition you're talking about, you have to kind of, it's so weird you have to figure out like, all right, this little nudge, do I listen to this? Do I not listen to this? And it can get really confusing.
Yes.
I want to shout out Jennifer Blanchard. She's a local author who she recorded a couple of her audiobooks here, and she has a great book called Fuck the How. And it is
I love the sound of that.
You got to look it up. It's on Amazon, and there's an audiobook version too. And it's a great little kind of how-to guide, how to fuck the how. And it's awesome. I refer back to it a lot when I get stuck, and I try to figure out, why am I stuck? Why am I feeling this way? And then I realize it's because you're focusing too much on the how.
Yes.
You're focusing on this thing that you need to not focus on. Let's focus on this.
Yes.
Switching gears a little bit now. So how many kids do you have?
I have 2 kids.
You have 2 kids?
Yes. I have a teenager and a toddler.
You have a teenager?
Yes.
Get out of here.
Yes.
Were you a teenager when you had a teenager?
Well, I'm so blessed to be a stepmom. So I did not birth my teenager, but I've been in his life since he was 9, and he is now 14. So he is wonderful. We're going through it with the teenage years, and then I have a toddler. She's 2.5. So It's funny. They're like the same, right? Just different needs. So tell me a little story about your juggling, being a founder, creating Kinz, and also being a stepmom, mom, wife, all of those things. Yeah, there's a lot there. Really, if it wasn't for this awareness for my mindset, I think I would have stayed on a path of feeling like a lot of things were just happening to me. I didn't even know if motherhood was, in the cards for me, because I wasn't really clear on what I wanted. And it wasn't until I got really clear on what do I want that then I was blessed with this opportunity of motherhood, right? From being a stepmom to now having, a 2-year-old. It's amazing juggling it all, but it all is the same. So what I mean by that is who I show up as, a founder is the same way that I show up for my kids or for my marriage. And it's through that lens of, living in the end, if you will. So it's really, it kind of bleeds, for lack of a better word, into like every, chapter of my life.
What do you mean by living in the end?
So for me, it goes and ties kind of into, as I'm building this company, I'm thinking from the lens of someone that already has it.
Okay,
right?
all right. That's what I thought you meant, but I wasn't positive on
Yeah, so it's sort of that same concept, is just kind of trusting that, all right, if I stay persistent in, I'm not just a mom, right? Like, I want to be a mom with a calm central nervous system, right? I want to be, don't we all though, right? So if I look at from that, or I want to, whatever it is, like, it's really been, for me, figuring out that whatever I inherited my whole life, whatever beliefs, patterns, whoever I was, like whoever Amy was, if I'm not happy with parts of that, I can change it. And the way to change it was not through, let me force this or force that or do from outside of myself. It was like looking within. So identifying with, someone that stays calm, during, chaos, or identifying with someone that leads with their heart. I'm also in corporate America. I'm a senior manager for a beauty company, right? And I manage direct reports. So it's kind of like the concept of how you show up one place is how you show up everywhere. So all of it has helped elevate and evolve all of those different chapters of who Amy is and who I've decided to be. And it is simply deciding and continuing and persisting in that decision.
Can you give me one thing that you learn from your kids that you apply to your professional life?
Oh my goodness. Well, a lot, but it's interesting because I do really see so many people in our lives tend to be a mirror of ourselves, right? And I was doing all the work with myself, right? And if I no longer am identifying with, someone who, let's say, people pleases or, doesn't, say what I want. And then in the same breath, I would then, see something or a circumstance with my daughter and then automatically go down the rabbit hole of something's wrong, right? So it's the same thing. It's looking at if there are circumstances in your life that go against what you truly want or the story you've chosen, those are just observations. Nothing has meaning until we assign meaning to it. So for me, I'm always going to assign, if I'm assigning anything, a positive meaning, or if it doesn't, I'm just letting it drop from my awareness. Like, okay, that happened then, but that doesn't have to be her identity, or that doesn't have to be the story moving forward, because I already, going back to living in the end, I already know how it ends. Like I already know, who I'm embodying and what I want in the story that I want to live. I just am now here to witness its unfolding. So it's sort of the same thing of not worrying about the how, just staying focused on, the end, if you will.
I've always loved the simplicity of a child's perception. But they see things exactly as they are.
Yes.
Whereas as adults, we tend to have many different lenses that we're looking through, and we don't see the simplest form of whatever is the situation. Your kid will be like, "Oh, it's this," and you're like, "Yeah, it is." So I've always seen them just simplifying situations, and that was always. So when I look at something, I try to think of like, what's the simplest way to look at this situation?
I love that.
And then sometimes I get the answer right away, and I'm like, oh, duh. It at least helps. It helps me to change my way of thinking, just so I can approach it from a different perspective. Because I think approaching things from different perspectives, there's a lot of people that don't know how to do that. So they have one perspective and that's it. And they don't think of, let me think about this, how Amy's thinking about this, or let me think of it, how this person's thinking about it. And then you go, oh yeah, wow. And that's hard to do because I don't know you really well. So I don't know exactly how you would look at something, but just on the surface, I'm like, all right, here's someone who's well put together. She's a founder. She's smart because she invented something, right? You came up with something. So how would you look at that? And that's kind of hard to do, but at least it kind of bends your mind a little bit so you can go, oh yeah, let me think about that differently.
Yeah, it's so important. I think open-mindedness is key, because if you are stuck in always wanting to be right, right, then you miss out. And it's like, do you want to be right, or do you want to be aligned with like your true, your inner self, or what your true potential?
The fighting with the ego, I think, is the biggest thing. I know I've learned that over the years, especially just in dealing with my wife and our relationship. Was when I was younger, it was always like, you want to be right. You want to be, no, this is my perspective. I'm the right one, And now I've realized that being right isn't necessarily that important.
No. It's almost like you truly, if you get to the root of it, isn't that you just want to be understood?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
100%.
Like, if you take right or wrong out of it, it's like everyone just wants to be heard and understood.
Yeah.
And we could have completely different perceptions and completely different opinions about whatever it is, but as long as each other, like creating that space so each other feels understood. That's been huge with my kids too. It all like ties back for sure.
So what has been one of the most difficult things that you've had to overcome in this founder's journey?
I would say getting into the mindset that this is possible for me. And what I mean by that is I had the awareness that like, oh, okay, my inner thoughts, like kind of whatever's running, on repeat in my subconscious here, I could see how that was affecting my experiences in life. And having that awareness and knowing like, oh, okay, well, if I know that, now that I know that, okay, well, now I just need to live through that lens of this founder, right? But then if I've never been a founder before, like how do you make decisions through a lens of something that you have no
experience doing?
Right, yeah. Right. And then it's like, okay, but then are you looking outside yourself to figure that out? And it wasn't that. It was like simplifying, like you said. Okay, it doesn't mean that I have to know like if I'm going to go down a venture capital route or if I'm going to speak to investors or if I'm going to, do this or marketing. It's more basic than that. It's more, okay, in a time of uncertainty and if I have a decision to make, what would I make as that person, right? Like way more simpler. Would I react, out of desperation? Would I react out of fear or would I pause? And a lot of this journey has been for me pausing and slowing things down because I think had I attacked this through the lens of my old identity, I would probably already be burnt out and broke by now. Because I would have just been trying to force my way to make something happen.
So it's like a maturity thing. Like as you get older, you become maybe a little bit less impulsive and less reactive. So you're like, all right, this is happening. Let me think about this. Let me, analyze it and then we'll approach it. Instead of when you're younger, you just kind of like, oh, poof, go after it. And then, no, that wasn't the right thing to do.
Yeah. And I think too, when you're younger, the comparison is hard, right? Like you might look and say like, oh, but I remember at first when this came to me, I was like, oh, but what if someone else thinks of it and gets it out there before me?
Oh yeah.
Right? That is such an ego thing. Like, because when you truly believe in yourself and you know that something's inevitable, like you are the secret sauce. So it doesn't matter if someone, I remember I had even talked with like, development partners or different, and I had them sign NDAs. And now I laugh because I'm like, go ahead and take the idea because it's not going to be coming from me. Right? I am the sauce. Like I am this, like what makes the magic of this. It came through me, and
so you are gutsy.
Yeah, I guess so in a way.
Because that's a pretty gutsy move to do that. Because I know there's some people when they reach out to me and then they want to start a podcast. They're like, all right, so I've got the trademark attorney. I'm like, oh, okay, slow down. You don't need to. Yeah. Trademarks are expensive. Yeah. You're going to trademark this podcast. Do you have a business plan for your podcast? And they're talking about starting an LLC and all this stuff. Yep. And I had a couple of people that wanted me to sign an NDA before we went into to do their podcast. I'm like, I'll sign it if you want, but I think you're overcomplicating this.
Yes.
But I get it. Some people, they're very detail oriented and they want to cover their ass as much as possible. I get it.
Yeah.
And to each his or her own. But I'm just like, wow, you really, that's a lot of things to do before, because let's say you go through all that stuff and then you start podcasting, you're like, this sucks. I don't like doing this. Right? This is too much work. And now you just spent, $5-6 grand on stuff that's now of no use.
Scott, that was the exact route I was going down with Kinz. I have a trademark on Kinz, actually. That was the first thing I did.
It makes sense though. I can understand both sides
for the name, but let's be honest, this was a nickname I had. It's not that common. Who's stealing Kinz? I mean, right. Let me look in the camera. Who's stealing Kinz? But it's funny because at that time, I was very new in my awareness journey. Like that felt safe to me. And I think a lot of times people make decisions out of safety and security, right?
Sure.
So I get that.
It's all fear-based.
Yeah, it's all fear-based. And when you really have self-trust, I think that has been like the biggest kind of aha of this healing journey, I'll call it, or this framework of becoming. It's been self-trust, because when you have that, like, I have no doubt that this will be successful because it's coming from me and it's coming through aligned action.
That's really powerful. And that's not an easy place to get to. I know that from my own experience here. I mean, everything I do here is always like, well, what if, but the more, I'm sure of myself and I believe in myself, it becomes a lot easier. But getting to that step is really, really difficult. It's like a cliff. Yeah. And you're like, I don't want to jump off this, but you kind of have to when you're on this journey. If you're creating a business or a product or something, you have to have that self-trust, or you're just never going to get anywhere. You're going to constantly doubt yourself. You're going to constantly take too many, ask too many questions and you're never going to get anywhere.
Absolutely.
It's tough. It's tough to find that balance.
I think too, it's making sure that the lens of which I am putting myself or this out there is aligned too. Because at the beginning, a lot of it was like, well, how am I going to make money doing this? Right? How am I going to have a, healthy business? Mm-hmm. And there is a lot of ways that you can have a successful business that doesn't necessarily have to be monetary. Right? So, for example, abundance comes in so many different ways. Abundance could just be, getting the right opportunities. Like I have this opportunity to speak to you today, right? And that was just from another opportunity that I got from another aligned action. But it's not always, okay, what is, the quickest way to get an ROI? It could just be looking at, I already have an ROI. Like I have all of these opportunities that have come
right. It
here.
might not be a dollar ROI, but
looking at that through the lens of abundance and through wealth, like I already am wealthy, because I was looking at it through like, how do I get there in desperation and lack? And I was met with a lot of stress and went down other paths that weren't necessary. I spent more money than I needed to, right? Yeah. Versus had I just stayed true to like what it is. And if it's just to get this out there, even if it's not to get this out there for anyone to use Kinz, maybe it's just to get this out there so they start to realize like, hey, you know what? I do have control over the story that I'm going to tell. I do have control over the identity that I want to choose. And I don't have to just be my circumstances or be what was inherited or be what my parents told me or be what I've believed for so long. Then that is wealth to me. So yeah. I think it's like changing the lens of which success looks like.
And what is this journey? Let's see, how am I going to phrase this? How is this journey different for you because you're a woman?
Ooh, that's an interesting question.
Like, what do you see in other people, other people that are on a similar path, but it's a guy? Have there been any bad things that have happened or any good things that have happened? Like, how has it been different for you?
Well, if you ask my husband, because my husband's always growing with me, we evolve together. I would say I never compare our journeys or our evolutions, but mine, and he would tell you this too, is way more emotional. And I don't know if that's just, my lens or perception, but I think for me, it's the feeling is kind of the secret. So in order to live in the end or to make aligned action from a founder, I didn't just have to think of like, well, what would, the highest version of Amy decide in this moment? It's also like, well, how would they feel? And I think for me, and I don't want to cut off men with feelings, but like for me as a woman, my feelings change during the month too. And I have to lean into that because there's been times where I've tried to force action during times where I knew my body was screaming to rest. So I think it's really like listening to that like inner, if I'm wanting to rest, that's okay. And there's no shame in that.
Yeah.
And sometimes by resting, then the next day something comes up and I'm not behind. And I think it's reminding myself like, you're not behind.
That's a big thing with entrepreneurs is that that listening to your body and always that feeling that rest is a negative thing. Like if you're resting, then you're not getting anything done, then you're being lazy or you're sitting around. And it's not the case, because you do need that time to rebuild whatever it is, your energy, your psyche. There's so many different parts of that. I know there's been many times where, because I'm working all the time. I'm here every single day, and I'll be the first to admit it right now. I need a vacation. Like, I desperately need a vacation, and I'll get one at some point soon. But there's been days where I'm like, you know what? I can afford to not do anything today.
Yes.
And I'm not going to. Yes. And it's tough. I know. I sit there and I'm like, I should be doing this. I should be doing that. And once I let go of that and say, no, this is something that you need, and you're going to just live it up and be like, all right, I'm going to watch TV today, or I'm going to play with the dog, or whatever.
Yes.
Get through it, and you're like, all right, I might not have got anything done yesterday, but I feel better. I feel a little rested. I feel like now I've got the energy to take on whatever I need to take on.
Yes. And it's too, I don't know if this ever happens to you. Let's say I'm blessed with the gift of time. Like, maybe something cancels, and now all of a sudden you have like 2 hours.
Right.
Then all of a sudden it becomes, well, what can I cram in these 2 hours? And sometimes that works out, right? Sometimes you're in like a creative flow, and like that's the best. And like you feel really good. But other times I can even be paralyzed by, well, what do I do if I have this precious 2 hours? What do I do first? And then figuring out what that is. And then like, sometimes it's just like,
I'm taking a nap.
I'm like closing my eyes. Like I'm doing nothing. And by doing nothing, that is like doing everything. So that has been a huge learning, especially with kids and a toddler, because time can be limited sometimes, and it's like, get it while you can, but sometimes getting it while you can needs to be like laying by the pool.
Right. Exactly.
Doing something that you wouldn't consider, like, again, not assigning meaning to things. So if it's like sitting on your couch and watching TV, like, hey, that's what you needed in that moment. And that was your productivity, if you will.
And there's times where, like, my wife and I will be watching a show, and she'll be like, you want to watch our show? And I'm like, no, I don't want to think. Like, I want to watch, I just want to watch a murder show that we can just like, and you just blah, blah, blah. All right. So this is not something that I normally do in the blathering, but I think it's a useful thing in this case. I think we should have you walk us through some of the interface of Kinz and what it looks like and what people can expect and how they can use it. Can you do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome to Kinz. If you're new here, getting started only takes a minute. You can join through bekinz.com by clicking Join Kinz and creating your account. Once you've created your account, I recommend saving Kinz to your home screen. Even though it's currently in early access, it behaves just like an app, making it easy to return whenever inspiration strikes. For this example, I'm using Safari. To save Kinz to your home screen, tap the three-dot menu, choose Share, then View More, and select Add to Home Screen. Once you've done that, Kinz will be right on your home screen, just like any other app.
All right, so what's in the next, let's see. As an entrepreneur, as a small business, a lot of people will say, oh, what's in the next 5 years? I would say what's in the next 5 months.
Oh, goodness, I like this. Well, I think for me, if I look within, it's just it's putting Kinz and myself as founder out there for the right aligned audience to see it. I've been saying something where what I'm seeking is already seeking me. So as you can imagine, I have built a platform for private becoming or for private capturing. And it kind of is putting, the parameters of social media on its head, right? There aren't metrics as far as likes and subscribes, and we don't have an algorithm necessarily. So for me right now, getting this out there, it's through really great conversations like this. It's through word of mouth. It is also through showing up online, being visible myself as a founder. So, I'm getting it out there on my own social media accounts from the lens of this is my journey and story. I am still becoming. I am still in process. My story is still unfolding. From that learning, here's what I built. And if this resonates, great. I'm also working on a becoming framework that kind of helps support Kinz as a tool, right? So that I'll be launching, and I think it's just talking about it and having these conversations so that if even just this conversation helps someone realize that they can look within and have a choice in their life and choose differently, then I feel like my work has been done.
And that's interesting that I was just going to ask you if you could give one piece of advice to someone starting out on a similar path. I think you just answered that, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Yeah.
If there's someone who's coming up who's deciding that they want to found a media company, or they want to create some, they have an idea for software or something like that, or anything. They want to create a food truck. I don't know.
Yeah.
What's some entry level advice that you would give them from an entrepreneurial standpoint?
I love this. It's absolutely just listening to yourself. And if there is something that wants to come through you creatively, whether it's an idea, like you said, a business, maybe it's just like a different way of being, or a want of any kind, listen to that and know that it's possible. And look at what would be that first step and take it. And don't think about what's after that yet. Don't think about how you're going to get there. Just what is that next aligned action, and do it. And if it feels really scary and uncomfortable, then definitely do it.
Love it. All right. So how do people find you?
All right. Well, you can find me on Instagram and TikTok. My personal handle is It's Amy Hawley, so Hawley. And then you can find Kinz, our brand page, at Join Kinz. If you want to learn a little bit more about Kinz or try out the app yourself, you can go to our website. It's www.bkinz.com.
That's Kinz.
Yes.
Amy Hawley, thank you so much for spending some time to blather with me. I wish you all the best with Kinz and with everything that you do. And I have no doubt that you're going to be successful.
Thank you. A pleasure.
And we will see you next time on the next Blathering. I never know how to end this damn thing, so we're just going to say bye.
.com